Hold on. There we are. We are live. Hello. It is the 7th of June, 2025, where I am. I don't know where you are in space and time because this is the internet. Welcome. This is Religion Outside the Box. I'm Rabbi Brian. I am joined by a group of stalwart interneters. What a terrible phrase. There they are. Hello, stalwart interneters. Glad to see you guys are here. Okay, can we do this one again? We haven't done it for a very long time. Would you do a high five off to the side? Yeah, I think none of those worked. That was great. Good job. Today, I wanted to start with a story. I'm about 14 years old, and I'm at magic camp, and I'm doing an act. And I started it with a lewd joke, and there are judges, and one of the judges, they all write notes on index cards, and we get all the index cards after you've performed, and you can hear what the judges have to say. And one of the judges, who would later become one of my mentors, he wrote, "You never get a second chance to make a first impression." And I had never heard that phrase. And I was beguiled by this wisdom biscuit, by this piece of wisdom that's just patently true. And I started collecting pieces of bits of wisdom. And wisdom is what helps us to get through life. There's the great quote of, "Knowledge is knowing that tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is not putting it in a fruit salad." And then for those of you who want to take the joke even further, and philosophy is the art of arguing whether or not ketchup is a smoothie. I want us to talk today about annoyances. I want to talk about annoyances because in the past few weeks, it has been brought to my attention that some of you didn't like what some of you had to say at some of the times.
Sorry.
Thank you for telling me. It has given me this great topic for us to talk about today, which begins with, dumb shit will be said. Thank you. Dumb shit will be said. The question is, what do we do when the dumb shit is said? Somebody says something absolutely asinine, and what do you do? And I have an example of, well, let's start with this. Dumb shit that was said. Anyone have an example of some dumb shit that was recently said to you?
When is Straight Pride Month?
When is Straight Pride Month?
Oh, good Lord.
Thank you, Gord. I did see a cartoon about that, and it was different shades of khaki for straight pride. Other dumb shit that has been said to you or you have overheard in the last few days.
Immigrants are taking all our jobs.
Dumb shit will be said. Amen. Immigrants are taking all our jobs. Something else, dumb shit that's been said. I have one that a dear person just told me. They said this one really got to them. Somebody said to them this. Person's having a lot.
Yeah.
That's a little asterisk at the top after I'll pray for you. For some people, that's not a dumb shit thing to say. But for some people hearing it, it was a dumb shit thing for that person to have said.
Well, if you take it as a kindness and say thank you to them, then that can
Soften.
Soften, yes.
Yeah. Thank
When
you.
I
Betsy.
when I say I put you in my God box, is that
Sounds
because that's
dirty,
what I
Emily.
do.
Yeah.
That's
They,
okay.
they might not understand that.
Oh,
So it is dumb shit will be said. Maybe we change that to dumb shit will be heard.
Ooh,
Maybe
I
it's
like
not.
that.
Tell me the
That's-
difference, Meg, between dumb shit will be said and dumb shit will be heard.
Well, it's going back to Nakati Roy or whatever that thing is you
To-
keep trying to teach us. Um, it's how you perceive what was said. I liked what Betsy said about I'll pray for you. I used to hate to hear that. And I
Yeah,
finally
me
got
too.
around to the point of, okay, they're at least putting positive energy out there in the world for me, and I can use some. So it's the perception of the person that's hearing it, whether or not it's dumb shit.
dumb shit will be said and dumb shit will be heard. The thing to which Meg was making reference was this. The meaning of communication is in the response elicited regardless of intention. And that, if you try to say it, is Tamakatri Roy. The meaning of communication is in the response elicited regardless of intention. Well, that would actually mean that dumb shit will be said because that's how I'm hearing it. Let me turn us a little bit. What is it? Somebody. All right. Let's make a person A says some dumb shit, or person A says something, and person B hears it as dumb shit. What is a bad response from the recipient of the dumb shit? Before we get to here are some quality ways of dealing with it, here are some great tips, here are some ways of making it not sting. Let's start with here are some really bad ways of responding when somebody says something stupid. Somebody says something really stupid to you, and you say in return,
That was stupid.
What the hell?
yeah.
Or
What
that
the
doesn't
hell?
make sense.
F
That
word.
doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. So I heard from Emily and I heard from Joe answers that I would put in those are actually really productive responses.
Really?
The start of a good conversation.
To start to say, go ahead, Al. Can you elaborate a little
I was just
more?
going to say, I think they could be the start of a good conversation. You know, I mean,
Oh yeah.
what the hell is at least letting them know that they touched a button and they stepped on a nerve. If you swallowing it completely and pretending it never happened, maybe is, I don't know. I'm struggling with the idea that there's such a thing as a bad response to dumb shit, because that kind of blames the person who's being victimized in the way.
Help me out. Blaming the person.
Well, like let's say somebody comes up to me and says, "Oh, they see my autistic children," and they say, "Oh, I'm going to pray for you," because they believe there's something wrong with my autistic children. If I respond in a way that is bad or wrong, that's kind of putting the onus on me to educate them as to what they've just done. And I'm struggling with that. I don't think the onus should be on me. The onus is kind of on them to start to reflect and figure out maybe that wasn't the best thing to say to this person in this situation.
Well, most people don't think that they're saying the wrong
How
thing.
would you respond? How would you respond? What kind of response can you give, Al? I mean,
Well, you know, I mean, sometimes it depends on my situation, depends on my relationship with the person. Sometimes I just swallow and say, you know, thank you, or,
Yeah.
I pretend like it's okay. Sometimes I tell them, that really hurts to have you say that. I don't think there's anything wrong with my children. I think they're just different.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's
It
good.
depends on my relationship with the person and what I feel like, where I am with myself as well, and what I want to chew off and deal with right at that very moment. That's why
If
I'm
I can,
struggling with the idea that there's such a thing as a bad response, because I think it
so
just depends so much.
let me introduce a word, and then I'll get to. We have some hands that are up. There's a word called shempa. It means the heat behind the words, and what my assumption was where this is going to go was to say to someone, what you said wasn't really nice, or what you is to say it without the heat behind it, where somebody says something stupid, some dumb shit. Often we respond back with, "Well, go fuck yourself then," and we come back with more heat, and that's where I'm looking at. That someone
Yeah,
says,
except
"I'll."
I'm not sure that it's such a bad thing if you come back with some heat, because if I'm feeling the heat and I express the heat, maybe that's going to be the start of a good conversation, some transformation there.
Mm,
I don't know.
I've had different experience.
I'm dubious.
My experience is not to do such a thing.
Yeah.
Where there was a quote we talked about a little here. No, that's not going to work. Let's go to Dan and then Bob and then Jack.
I just want to read something excellent that Candace put in the chat. Going back to I'll pray for you, which she says really depends on what the tone is. Is it you're having a hard time, I'll keep you in my prayers. Okay, there you go. Or is it being said in a bless your heart kind of thing, like there's something wrong that ought to be fixed, like you're gay, I'll pray for you because that's bad, that type of I'll pray for you. And that's a huge difference. And I think getting back to where we move up to about the heat, I think that just blasting is probably not helpful, but letting someone know you're angry may be
Mm-hmm.
helpful.
What you said really upset me as a statement. Right.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Bob, and then Jack. I didn't forget about you.
Yeah, I think if somebody refers to me as a dumb shit, my response is it takes one to know one.
It's a wonderful response. Thank you, Bob. Jack?
I think the most off-putting is when the reply is you don't know what you're talking about.
So I say some dumb shit and you reply to me, you don't know what you're talking about?
Yeah.
And that response from you is,
Very,
give me the word.
very, very off-putting.
To me or to you?
To the you say that to the person that you're saying that you're ignorant.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it
Okay.
depends on who you're talking to.
It
Yeah,
does depend on who you're talking to.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're making a judgment of that person.
Yeah.
Lori and then Emily.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that back to the statement that all immigrants are taking our jobs. I know that's wrong, but I often don't know what to say to combat it. So I think that the best thing is to make a script in your head of things that
That's exactly
of facts.
Yes.
Yeah. So that you're prepared, so that you don't just walk away with your head hung because you didn't know what to say. So I think it's good to get some words and practice them so that you're able to respond in a healthy way with
Thank
facts.
you, Lori. I think in the case of facts, we want to have a strong response, a strongly reasoned response. But if it's not facts and it's just an opinion, and somebody says to me, "You're the dumbest rabbi there is. You're doing it all wrong," that if I can have practice in my head a response, I'm going to have a much better chance of getting a clear response out. And that's what I want us to get to. We might get there, we might not, but I want us to get to what are some good responses we can put in our pocket that will be able to say, you know, what you just said really is hurtful. I'm trying to collect those. That was my intent for today, but we'll see how we go. Emily, then Ron, then Diana.
My response is already, it just occurred to me when you mentioned that, because I've heard people say things like that. I've been sort of wondered what to say too, and it just occurred to me, like, do you know anybody who has taken a job? Some immigrant that's taken a job.
We know someone who's lost their job to an immigrant. Good question, Emily.
Lost a job to an immigrant. The other thing is when people ask me how I am, I hate people asking me that. And sometimes what I say is, I hate that question. And often that will spark a conversation I have with people.
That's a strong statement. Do you get to say it often? I'm sure people are asking you, how are you?
People are always saying that. Strangers, it's just, you walk in the door and somebody says, how are you? I hate that question. Because I'm not.
Well,
thank you, Emily.
Go ahead. As good as I can be this day.
As good as I can be this day. Thank you. Thank you, Ray.
Right. I usually say on the scale of 0 to 10, I'm, whatever.
That's not a number from 0 to 10.
Whatever.
It might be one of the good. I'm going to get to Ron and then Diana, but I'm going to call on me first because oh, did I lose it? I was afraid I was going to lose it. Oh, I wanted to just tell you guys a quick story about the how are you fine. I'm on the phone with customer service and the person says to me, how are you today? And I said, my internal weather is doing just fine. Right? What's going on outside me is not going so perfectly, but internally I'm feeling good. And the guy says, oh, it's lovely to hear that. I say, well, and how are you doing, Richard? And he says, I'm fine. And then I asked, Richard, if you weren't fine, would you tell me?
Oh.
And he said, I don't know what you're asking. So I tried it again. Well, it's really off script. I tried it again and said, would you tell me? And I would doubt that you would. Would you tell me if you weren't fine? And he says, no, I am fine. I'm like, okay, fine. Let me go to Ron, then Diana.
So on Monday night at 5:30, I was driving down one of the busiest streets in Portland, and somebody was parked in front of the infamous Mousetrap Tavern and decided to do a U-turn on one of the busiest streets in Portland at 5:30 and pretty much trashed the entire side of my car from the front back to the rear bumper. And she was very distraught about that. And we talked and I said, I'm not angry at you. I've had some bad accidents, but I do hope that in the future you will look over your shoulder and look at where you're going before you pull out and gun the engine. Mm-hmm. So, at any rate, it is.
I think
being able to say that made me feel better in that I didn't ream her out for grossly stupid traffic error and messing up my car. But I did tell her that she was in the wrong.
Wonderful. It's not just dumb shit will be said, it's dumb shit will be done.
Yep.
Diana.
I'm just going to try this on. What about, I don't get that, or I don't understand that.
Hmm.
Hmm.
That seems like
That's
bounce the ball back
possibility.
into their court.
Yeah,
And it's before I engage and come out with my guns drawn. I don't understand what you just said. Could you please elaborate? That might be good. All right, I'm going to put that one in my pocket. Al?
Yeah, I just I keep coming back to examples where I think that there is a place for people to just frankly let loose with a can of whoop ass when somebody does something that is offensive. Like I'm imagining somebody's telling me about their experience being discriminated against and ends that with Black Lives Matter. And then somebody says, well, all lives matter.
Right.
If that person who's just recounted their experience of being discriminated against or even harmed as a black man lets loose with a lot of emotion, I'm not going to blame that person. I'm not going to come up with constructive ideas on how they could have approached that differently. I'm going to say right on. And, there's sometimes they're probably not going to engage with and convince the person who said all lives matter when they let loose with all that emotion.
Oh, no, you can't freeze at this moment. You froze, Al.
Oh, did I freeze?
Yeah. So you're saying that you wouldn't blame the person for letting loose with all the emotion.
Yeah, because, they're letting all the rest of us know this isn't okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to convince the other person who said all lives matter with their emotional outburst, but they are sending an important signal to everybody else who's listening, and they're setting a boundary within themselves.
Good point.
What is a good response to that? All lives matter. I hate that, and
Yeah,
I never
hate
know
that
what.
too.
So I have a response, if I may.
No, please. It's your Zoom room.
Thanks for the permission, Al. This is from someone named D Smoove, Smoov, and he came up with this analogy called broccoli in your teeth. And broccoli in your teeth goes like this. And I did this, so let me give it from I don't know. Let me explain it first, and then I'll give the example. Broccoli in your teeth is saying, when we say to someone, what you just said is racist, their immediate response is, I'm not racist. Whereas if we said to someone, you got some broccoli in your teeth, they would go, oh, I got some broccoli in my teeth. And we can use, he says, you can use the broccoli in your teeth to explain to someone that instead of getting all taken aback, I'm not racist, is just go, oh, what I said might have been somewhat racist. So, Board of Rabbis meeting about 6 months ago, one of the members says something pretty fucking misogynistic. It was gross. And I said in the meeting, Jim, his name's not Jim, but I said, Jim, I think you have some broccoli in your teeth. He said, what are you even saying? I said, well, if you had some broccoli in your teeth, and I said, hey, Jim, you got some broccoli in your teeth, you would just clean it out. And I hope you have the same response with what I'm about to say, is what you just said was a little misogynistic, and it was a little over the line. And I hope you can hear that. And so I used the broccoli in your teeth to teach. He followed with, I still have no idea what you're talking about. We follow. I can't remember how it ended, but he and I did get back together. Oh, he calls me or he emails me. Whatever. He gets back in touch with me to clean up, and I got to explain the whole thing to him. And I'm not really sure he fully understands it, but he will think twice before he says something misogynistic in that room again. In fact, he hasn't. Instead, he's just cuts people off. But that's not my job to police the Board of Rabbis of Portland. If anyone would like the job of policing the Board of Rabbis of Portland, please know that it's an open position. It has no pay, and nobody will be grateful. I tell you one other quick story because it's Board of Rabbis. We were debating something. Go figure. A room full of rabbis. We're debating something, and I finally say, "Okay, guys, listen up. We're never all going to agree on anything." And one of my colleagues, no shit, says, "I don't think that's true."
Excellent.
It sounds like teaching a bunch of teenagers how to do math.
It is. It is very, very similar. Go ahead, Bob.
Greg has been having his hand up.
Greg has had his hand up. Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry, Greg. Thank you, Bob, for telling me. Go ahead, Greg.
It's okay. I used to say in a response, same to you, fella, when they would say something derogatory like that to me. But I can't do that anymore. And I'll just say, why did you do this or say this? There must be something bothering you about me.
Thank you, Greg. All right, so here, and I'll give you an answer in case you want one, which is just the word ouch.
Yeah.
Someone says something, some dumb shit thing to you about you, you can just respond, ouch.
Ouch. It's a good one.
In addition to ouch, what are some other things you might say? Someone says something derogatory towards you. A nice response might be, and again, why are we practicing this? Is if we can practice it in the off season, like we don't have someone saying something at us right this moment, it's really hard when someone's coming right at us for us to formulate a quality response. So let's do it in slow motion here. Someone says something hurtful to you. You can respond with,
"That hurts."
Yeah, that hurts. Doesn't
Why do you
escalate
feel that
the
way?
situation. Why do you feel that way? That could come out with a little snark to it, but hopefully not.
Or say thank you.
Oh, someone says something derogatory towards you and you just say, "Oh, thank you." That would take the wind right out of their sails. Other thoughts, responses?
Chad?
Yeah, if sometimes somebody says something and you can kind of see where they're coming from even though you disagree. So sometimes you can say, "Yeah, I see where you're coming from. However, I see it differently," or something like that. But that only works if you don't agree with them, but you know where they're coming from, kind of.
It works. Keep that in our pocket. I got one from Gene on YouTube. Hold on. There it is. You can say, "Thank you for caring enough about me." Thank you for caring enough about me to have an opinion about me. Thank you, Gene, for putting that up. Ding.
That's very generous.
Yes.
So what are some
It is really
responses to-
generous. It's really generous to not respond back, cutting them. I think, yeah, it's really generous. And I think this is what with notable exceptions, and I do believe it, that sometimes heated anger is appropriate, but most of the time I don't think it's necessary.
But then there's also the humility of thinking for a moment if there's any truth in their criticism or something.
To wonder about it.
To be honest about it.
I got a few in the chat. One is Chad is throwing out, Chad and Lisa. Lisa says, "I know you are, but what am I?" Very mature. If you can do that in real life, fantastic. That's hilarious. Like, what are they going to say back? I know you are, but what am I? But so what are some responses to all lives matter? Somebody says something like all lives matter.
Yeah, what are some?
I would say, you know, what you just said is really hurtful. Would you like to hear more? Would you like to learn why? To invite them into dialogue without heat. Go ahead, Carol. I see you about to say something.
No, I very often people come up with misogynistic statements and people let them slip by. And you don't let it slip by. You say, that's what screwed up the world for 3,000 years. And I'm not going to let it slide by.
Thank you. I think also going back to Al's example, it is up to the white person who's in that group to say, excuse me, what you just said about all lives matter is really fucked up, especially saying it at this time. And if we can get a white voice in there and not have to have somebody who's already victimized defend themselves.
That's important.
Fantastic. If we can do it, yeah.
Al
It is up to, hold on, I'll get to, hold on one second. Male identified people in this room, in this group who are listening, it is up to us to call out misogyny first. Thank you. There will be no more questions. There was something, Gord, go ahead.
No, that was a thumbs up. Just
sorry.
like the people, you know, white folks need to call out racism. Straight folks need to call out homophobia. I'm with you.
Amen. Yep. Sorry about that. The thumbs got me confused. There was somebody else, and I spoke, and somebody said somebody had something to say.
Oh, Al had a good response in the channel.
Oh, there we go.
His response to all lives matter.
Yes, all lives matter, but not everyone's life is being threatened right now.
Ooh, I like that.
Oh,
Yeah, that's good.
Very, very good.
Okay. I'm going to take a moment to take a breath of air. Look at all you lovely peoples. Thank you all, lovely peoples, for showing up today. Lori, you have a list of names of people for whom we would like to have some prayers. Would you be so kind to do that? And let me thank Lori for doing that. And also, Dan is running tech for the first time today. So thank you, Dan, for doing that. And you can know he's really serious about it because he has a step stool ladder right behind him in case something goes really wrong. Go ahead, Lori.
Okay. These are the people to whom we are sending light and love. Hugh D, Derek G, Diana and Barry N, Shar W, Alex, Patsy's sister Sue, Anja G and Greg C, Mary Mack, Shirley W and Aaron R, Ran Reuven, and Greta Vosper. If there is another person, if there is another person, if there is another person in our community to whom we can offer light and love, please put their name in the chat and I will add them to the list on Facebook. And for people who aren't named but are in our thoughts, we send them light and love as well.
Let's take a minute of time right now. Thank you. We didn't do we didn't do something on my. It's something Maria does, and I think it's a lovely practice. Is that it's as though you're on a scavenger hunt. She calls it playing bingo, where you put something that's going to annoy you and you know someone might do on a bingo card. But let's simplify it for dumb shit people say. I want you to imagine that you have a card in your pocket that has a box to be checked. And next to the little box to be checked, it says, oh, here. What am I doing? I have visuals right here. Here's a little box. You keep this card in your pocket. Someone said some dumb shit. And when someone says some dumb shit, you take the card out of your pocket and you say, hooray, I win. What do you think that would do?
Get your teeth knocked out.
Say it again, Carol.
Get your teeth knocked out.
Get your teeth knocked out. You don't have to tell them that you're writing that you're excited for winning. I know for me what I think it would do, but I spend enough time with me. I'd like to know what you think it would do for you if you had a card in your pocket and instead of, or when someone said something dumb, you took the card out of your pocket. I'm now thinking of making these cards and I'll send them to you. Let's make it a lot easier, folks, and save on postage. Make your own card. Okay. What would happen, Joe, if you had this card in your pocket?
You know what? I've been dealing with the how are you question for long enough now that I've learned a new skill, and it's called ignoring. That's the new skill, is ignoring. So people will send me a text, or even if they're talking to me, I'll listen to something I can respond to, and the other stuff, like, I just don't pay any attention to it at all.
That's a great idea.
Like, because most people do not just ask a 1-point question. Usually I'm finding in general anyway that people have like an agenda when they ask. So they're not in a space to just pause and hear me. That's not what they're doing. I wish it was what they were doing, but it's not usually what they're doing. So I will listen for what else is there, and I'll respond to that. And I'll completely ignore the stuff that like is dumb shit. Like, well, okay, I will respond to that particular thing, and then I'll just move on.
It's a great way to stay mentally healthy.
It's a great way to stay mentally healthy.
And the direct response to your if I had a bingo card, that's humorous. I think that adds humor to my day.
I forgot to ask everyone to do something, and I'm feeling a little sad at the moment. So our friends Maria and Alex are not here today. And what I was going to ask you to do at the beginning, but I totally missed that on my note card, was it's kind of like in school when you have a friend who's absent and they say, well, take some notes for me. And so then when you see them after you missed that, you were at the class and they were not at the class, and you take some notes for them and you say, oh, what we talked about was blank. And what I was going to tell you to do at the very beginning of this service, oops, I forgot, was to take some notes for Alex or take some notes for Maria. So as that said, while things are still fresh enough in your head, what's one thing you would write down on a card? One thing you would write down to tell Maria, hey, we talked about this and we learned that. I'm going to leave you that to think about for a moment as I introduce a new thought. And you could just use this new thought as the thing you want to teach Maria or Alex. But here, this is called Hanlon's razor. Hanlon's razor says, never prescribe to malice what could also be attributed to stupidity.
Yep.
Yeah.
Don't assume that they're trying to be dumb. Don't assume they're trying to hurt you. Just assume that they're dumb.
And don't attribute, don't prescribe to stupidity what could be attributed to ignorance.
Oh my gosh, you are ahead of me, Betsy. Yes. I will let's put a pin in that. We'll get to that in a second. But I want to get to, let's take this part as it is, and then we'll get to the next piece of it. Never prescribe to malice. Never think that what they're doing is to hurt. Never prescribe to malice that what could also be attributed to stupidity. What do you make out of that? Is that helpful? So the idea of the razor is it cuts away a lot of other things. This is a philosophy idea. Is that the razor cuts away and leaves just a clean, something much cleaner than it was beforehand.
Yeah, look for the good in everyone, basically.
Look for the good. It might just be that they're stupid.
or that they grew up in a different, less liberal home.
Culture.
Yeah, and they learned differently.
Never prescribe to malice.
But it takes the anger out if you try to understand where the person's coming from and you realize that it's not malicious. It takes the anger away.
Wait a minute. Does that somewhat fit in with what I've been saying this whole time? Of not escalating the violence? Maybe they're not trying to, if we look at them as not trying to be mean, but they're just dumb, it would soften us up a lot.
Yeah.
We'd never treat a 4-year-old the way that we treat some people. What if we just treated them the way we treat a 4-year-old? In Judaism, in the Passover Seder, there's this idea that how do you respond to a child? Do you respond to a child the way you would respond to a child? You don't hold people to a standard they can't get to. Diana, I heard your voice for a moment. I don't know if that was, you had something you want to share.
You did. Starting with don't assume bad intentions, that they're intentionally coming at you as, provocative, hurtful, etc. They may just be dumb.
And what if we thought that everyone's intention actually was, instead of what if we assumed it was good? Oh my gosh, thank you. That's a hard step to do, but you're all capable.
But it can come out as malice too, right?
It might be that they're coming at us with malice. It could be malice. I like this Hanlon's razor. So let me go back. And anything else on this first read of Hanlon's razor? Never.
Well, somebody could come from stupidity with a good intention.
Yeah.
So, right. They might be dumb, but they have a good intention, and we are taking it as malice.
Yes. That's the gist.
So I'm going to come back to the thing Betsy was talking about. This is from Dr. Catherine Schultz, who writes about and learns and studies and teaches about mistakes. And she says that things go in this order. That first we assume that the person we're arguing with does not have the knowledge necessary. Mom, take me to the mall. No, but I need a new pair of jeans. Mom should say yes at that point. But mom doesn't say yes after the knowledge has been filled. Mom says no. And you say, step 2. So they didn't have the knowledge. They were missing the fact. Obviously, they're missing the reason. Mom, you have to take me to the mall. I need a new pair of jeans. And you said that I need to up my wardrobe. We start with they're missing some knowledge. If they just had the facts, they'd go along with us. Search your heart you can think, are there people politically where you think if they just had the facts, they would know, like they would come along. And if they don't, we assume they're not smart enough. They're not reasonable. And if we give them, Mom, take me to the mall. I need a new pair of jeans. You told me I need a new pair of jeans because I need to look better. If they don't subscribe to our reason, Annie was trying to convince me that it was okay for her friends who aren't supposed to drive anyone they're not related to for the first 6 months with their license, that it was okay for her to be in their car. I said, no, you can't do that. And she starts to argue with me why it's reasonable. Now, I have a nice relationship with Annie, and this did not happen. But, Mom, take me to the mall. I need a new pair of jeans because you told me I need to look better. The next step is we assume that that person is evil or filled with malice. And that's this part of Hanlon's razor. Hanlon's razor is going the opposite way, is that don't assume that they're evil and malice. Assume that they're missing some reason or some knowledge, that their intent is not bad. Hey, Al, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
You sometimes get on me for teaching too much.
I've been known to. You are my rabbi, though, so I gotta forgive you. A fire will be hot, right?
Right. I'm just wondering how I'm doing. Because I felt like I dropped into teaching.
Yeah. I think there's a reason you feel like you dropped into teaching.
Yes. But we're going to just let it be.
Yeah. A fire will be hot.
Fire will be hot. Let's take a look at that phrase. It's one of my favorites. Fire will be hot. This is a teaching from Shanti Deva, 8th century India.
Carol,
Fire.
hand up.
Oh, who's got their hand up?
Carol.
Go, Carol. Help me
All
out.
right, so think of the people at the board of rabbis.
Okay.
Were they missing some knowledge?
I'm missing some. I don't get the joke.
You told me about this guy who was misogynistic at the board of rabbis. Was he being malicious, or was he missing some knowledge, or is there another category?
I think he was missing knowledge. I don't think he knew what he was doing. I don't think he knew he was being misogynistic. In his heart, he doesn't intend to be misogynistic.
What gives you the reason to assume that?
Because
he's gone through rabbinic school and so on, not know that he's misogynistic.
Sometimes people are raised in an environment that is so toxic, but everyone does it in the environment they live in. They have no knowledge that it is toxic because it's the standard.
Yeah. I've heard from there was a service here sometime in the last 5 years, and I talked about when you can say to someone, would you like my help? Or to listen for them to ask for help before you come in to help them. And I heard from an older white man, no disrespect to older white men, I intend on becoming one day myself. But I heard from an older white man, I had never heard this idea that I shouldn't just go and help. person was pushing multiple decades and somehow had missed that. I assume that my friend at the Board of Rabbis just didn't forgive them, for they know not what they do. It's a horrible phrase to use with the Board of Rabbis, or a perfect phrase to use with the Board of Rabbis, but he didn't know. He didn't know he had broccoli in his teeth. He just was unaware of it. It's what Ray was saying. You swim in that water so long, you don't see the water. So I'm assuming, color me crazy, but I'm going to assume stupidity, not malice. I'm going to assume ignorance. Oh, I got hands up. Okay, go ahead, Lori, and then either Andy or Ellen or both.
I wanted to say, I have a friend that steeps himself. He does a lot of work with Amnesty International and releasing political prisoners. And he steeps himself in the knowledge of the other side. So he reads books. He makes a really valid attempt to understand what the other side thinks and feels and where they're coming from in his efforts to
yeah, wonderful to understand.
And I mean, that to me is pure courage, because I can't read about what's happening in the US or anything. As soon as I read something that goes against my beliefs, I stop reading.
Okay.
And I think it takes a lot of courage to try to understand the other side.
Amen.
And come at it from not a place of anger, but understanding.
Thank you, Lori. One of the Seligs.
Me. I just wanted to make a comment that I think one thing that could help us be more charitable in how we interpret somebody's comments or react to them is to realize that each one of us at some points in time will be, it'll be reversed. Where we're saying something and the other person thinks we're coming from a position of either stupidity or malice or whatever, but we feel we had good intentions. So we're not all, I think we're really coming at this just in a one-sided way where we're the ones who are judging what the other person is saying.
Well, come back next week.
Always...
Maybe we'll look at how to respond to when we are corrected. When somebody tells us that we're in the wrong, how do we respond to that? That's a great question.
And the other thing is that when we, I think a lot of times we respond in a certain way because we haven't been in that position. Like, I've learned a lot by losing people, having loved ones die, and seeing what, seems like the best way to, at least for me, to have somebody respond or be there to support me. And it's given me a lot of wisdom, I think, in terms of how I then in return, can be there for somebody else. And like what Al was saying about his kids who, with autism, somebody who doesn't have kids with autism doesn't necessarily understand really I guess that's, ignorance. But,
you really don't.
I think sometimes it is, you might want to be in I don't agree with Al necessarily that I shouldn't be in the position of educating the other person. I can understand why you might feel that way, but the other person may not understand just because they haven't been in that position. And so sometimes you might fill them in, sort of.
Might be just a space they haven't filled in yet. Go ahead, Ron. Thank you, Ellen. Go ahead, Ron. Sorry, I got a little confused right here. And then we're going to take George, and I got to take a break because I have some announcements I need to make.
This is just kind of a different take on this. So many years ago, my very closest friends had me over at his recording studio, and his brother had come out from the East Coast. And he warned me in advance that his brother was very racist. But his brother was biker and wanted to meet me because I was a biker and rode a different model, a different brand of motorcycle than him. And we sat there and this guy lets out the N-word, and Richard looks at me with the most pleading look, begging me not to say anything. And so I didn't. And I always wondered, was that the right thing to do?
Good question. Thank you, Ron. George?
That's a good question.
I'm here in Wisconsin, and in the Midwest, the exchange, how are you? I'm fine, is considered being nice. And it is a meaningless, symbolic exchange, and it's our way of saying I care about you. It's not a true inquiry as to really how you're doing at this moment. It's simply the same thing as saying, you know, I do care about you, and opening a discussion that way. Nobody expects to get any other response than I'm fine out of that exchange.
I can't wait to come visit you, George.
My door is always open to you, dear.
Thank you. I'll have a really good time telling people how I am.
I do it all the time. You know, I pull people up short, mostly because of what I've learned in your sessions here.
Oh, thank you, George. That's amazing. Oh, I'll take that in. Few announcements. First, this announcement. What's it say, folks?
It's
okay.
Okay,
not
not
to be okay.
okay.
Hey, you. Are you having a hard time? It feels like an infomercial. Hey, you. Are you having a hard time? That's okay.
Are you going to sell a ShamWow?
It's okay not to be okay. Other announcements. We have a caregivers support group, and we are considering adding a spousal loss support group. If you are interested in such a thing, or would like, or you know somebody who, they don't have to be somebody who comes to the service, but you know of somebody who might want to be in a spousal loss support group, please send me an email, and I'm trying to get that off the ground if it's something you'd like to be in. Finally, thank you all for coming. Oh, Andy, Ellen, you have your hand up. Feels like bad manners not to respond.
I just have an announcement. I am almost through with Rabbi Brian's book, and I think it's terrific. And aspects have really stuck in my mind. I've read it over the last couple of weeks while we were on some vacation. And to any of you who have not read it, I highly recommend it. Very good. And the way he presents himself, it's kind of part memoir and his, like he does these sessions, it's part his experiences, and he just brings in a lot of information that being a kinder person is really front of mind after reading 90% of it. So I just wanted to say that.
Really glad I didn't skip on you, Andy. I am a few hatch marks away from 900 books sold, which is amazing. And there's a book talk in Omaha that I will be doing on Monday via Zoom, because that's cool. Book club is going on. Lori is running book club. If you want, on Thursday morning or evening, we have space still in the group. You can join a little scotch late.
We're doing chapters 2 and 3 next Thursday. We'd love to have you join.
And a book club, reading my book, and then asking me why I wrote what I wrote, and then me going, I don't know, it's just what I wrote. Let's do this thing where we wave to all the people who are on Zoom and Facebook. There they are. And we say goodbye, and we will be back next week.